Sandbox MMA fans, it is matchmaking time for UFC Vegas 97 Burns vs. Brady, where I have made matchups for everyone on the card that I thought was worthy of it. And I'm not going to bullshit for this whole time. So we're going to get right into it, starting with the early prelims. First fight that I'm actually matchmaking for is Andre Petroski. This isn't going to change from the August 24th card. It's going to be Zachary Reese again. I think we're looking at something not necessarily at the end of the year, but at the start of next year, sometime in January, February, a fight night. Put it on the prelims. Andre Petroski, Zachary Reese. Interested to see how this goes. You got two guys that can grapple, and two guys that kind of have pop, but I don't think Petroski's striking's better than Zach Reese's, but his grappling could be better. So again, we'll see. I think it's a good matchup to make in the middleweight division, and we move on to Jacqueline Amorim's impressive win over Vanessa Demopoulos. I think she should be fighting Josephine Knudsen. Josephine Knudsen's 8-0 in the strawweight division. Jacqueline Amorim's like 8-1. Striking versus grappling. Would be interested to see how this goes. Again, you can do this on a fight night in December probably because Amorim hasn't fought, Knudsen hasn't fought in a while. Amorim had a quick finish over Vanessa Demopoulos. I reckon you can squeeze them in to an early prelim fight by the end of the year. So sometime in December, early prelims for a fight night, make it happen. Next up on the card, Felipe Dos Santos lost to Andre Lima. Let's give him the Mitch Raposo matchup. Mitch Raposo's the guy that went to a split decision with Andre Lima when he clearly lost 2 rounds to 1, maybe 3 rounds to 0. Felipe Dos Santos is coming off of a loss again to Andre Lima, a fight against Victor Altamirano, which he kind of lost but got gifted a decision, and then also a loss to Manel Kape. So let's try and get him some wins here. He's a fun fighter, but let's try and get him some wins. I think Mitch Raposo is a good matchup for him, similar spots in the rankings. Again, not ranked, but similar areas in terms of talent in the division where they would be ranked if we were to go 1 to 100. Felipe Dos Santos, Mitch Raposo, fight night. Do like a fight night in January, March, February, somewhere around then. Put him on the prelims, and we move on to Andre Lima, who had a good performance over Felipe Dos Santos, showing multiple areas of his games. I think this is a guy that should be working his way up to the rankings, but before he gets there, let's give him a fight right outside the rankings against Azat Maksum. Azat Maksum doesn't have a fight scheduled. It's been a little bit since he's fought. Andre Lima is really good at being able to turn around pretty quickly. Didn't take a ton of damage versus Felipe Dos Santos. I reckon first fight night of January, put these two on the prelims, Andre Lima, Azat Maksum. I think it'd be a pretty good fight, and the winner can really start looking up closer to those rankings. So I think it's a really intriguing fight. I think that these guys can both strike. Andre Lima showed us that he can grapple. Azat Maksum, being from Kazakhstan, he probably has some kind of grappling, even though we haven't seen it too impressively. But I think this is a good matchup to make. Azat Maksum versus Andre Lima, January fight night card prelims. Next up, we're going to Rong Zhu. Rong Zhu, big win. Got his eye smashed in by Chris Padilla. Have him fight Tom Nolan. 2 lightweights. Tom Nolan's coming off a win against Alex Reyes. Not overly impressive win. Then you have Rong Zhu, who's coming off a loss against Chris Padilla, where his eye got shut off. Now, I think Rong Zhu's going to need some time to heal up here. He looked good in this performance. Again, it was a competitive fight with Chris Padilla, who's shown that he's actually decent in this lightweight division, but I think Rong Zhu's going to need some time off. Tom Nolan's fought, I want to say 3 times this year, so let's give him some time off as well. Let's have these guys look at a prelim matchup in March on a pay-per-view. Rong Zhu versus Tom Nolan, UFC 313, the first March pay-per-view that they're going to do. Sometimes they do 2 in March. So I would say Rong Zhu, Tom Nolan. This is a good fight to make happen as an early prelim on a pay-per-view. We move on. Isaac Dulgarian, very impressive performance over Brendan Marotte, who absolutely stinks. It's time to give him a little bit of a jump up in competition. Gabriel Santos also fought on this card. 2 featherweights that I think are talented. Let's see them go at it. These are 2 really good prospects outside the rankings. Let's have them fight each other, see which one's the most real deal and which one we should start pushing closer to the rankings. You have these 2 fight on a end of January, early February fight night card, put it as a prelim on the fight night card. Think it makes for a really, really good addition to any fight night. So Isaac Dulgarian, who should be undefeated, versus Gabriel Santos, who has looked really, really good. Even in his losses, he's fighting great competition. I think this is a great matchup to make, and they're on similar schedules here. I do think that I know Gabriel Santos took more damage, but Isaac Dulgarian, again, fought a fucking absolute layup of a fight. So I think if you put these two against each other, it's good for the featherweight division to see who is a really, really good prospect, because I think that both of them could be. We move on. Chris Padilla looked fantastic against Rong Zhu. Again, there were moments where it was getting dicey, but he stayed in there and just ended up kind of setting up that elbow really nice. Chris Padilla got a big win. Let's put him against Francis Marshall, another dude who got a big win in the Caio Borralho versus Jared Cannonier card last weekend, or 2 weekends ago. So again, they're on similar schedules, similar divisions here. Let's have them fight. Chris Padilla, Francis Marshall, let's see how it goes. Do this again, early of 2025, fight night. A lot of these are fight night cards, but we're moving on now to the main card. Yanel Ashmouz had a win over Trevor Peek, as boring as it was. We'll release Trevor Peeks first. Vyacheslav Barshev, two guys that are just going to want to get in there and strike. We have the sloppier, marauding, really heavy pressure approach of Trevor Peek versus the slick kind of striking of Slava Claus. Again, fought very close to each other, I believe, just one card apart. Let's make them fight each other again. Or not again. Let's make them fight each other again at the beginning of January. Dude, I can't fucking put sentences together today. I don't know what's good. But, again, this is a fight that I would put on the prelims of a fight night card in January, in February. It's a good matchup for Trevor Peek. He's going to get someone that wants to stand there and strike with him. It's a good matchup for Vyacheslav Barshev. Someone's going to stand there and strike with him. Trevor Peek might get cut if he can't pull this off, but I want to see it before he does get cut. So let's do it. Trevor Peek, Slava Claus. And then you get Yanel Ashmouz. I don't think anyone's overly excited to watch him fight after his boring-ass performance. Trey Ogden, a dude that's technical in the lightweight division, can wrestle, can grapple, can also keep you on the outside with a jab. Would be interested to see how the Sly Fox ends up winning this fight, if he does, or if Trey Ogden stalls him out here. So I think it's a good matchup. Two guys that are very evenly matched. And once again, we are looking at a start of 2025 fight night. So, again, when you're looking at some of these Apex cards, a lot of these guys aren't really making it to the pay-per-view unless they got a big name, but we're starting to get over to that part of the card now. So, without further ado, we're going Cody Durden. Gets a win over number 11 ranked Matt Schnell. So, I'd say he's going to take probably close to that 11 spot. Steve Erceg. I think this is a good fight. Steve Erceg's ranked number 8. He's got to fight down in the rankings after having a chance against Kai Kara-France, which he got knocked out. He also had a title shot against Pantoja, which a lot of people thought he won. But at the end of the day, the judges didn't give it to him. So he's fought up twice in a row. He's lost twice in a row, in everyone else's eyes one time. But Cody Durden, guy that's coming off a win, going to be ranked probably around that 11-12 spot in the division versus the number 8 ranked Steve Erceg. I think this is a good matchup. I think this is one that Steve Erceg can get a win, get back on track, which is really what we want to do with Steve Erceg here. But if not, if Cody Durden somehow manages to pull this off, it looks really good for him too. So he's another guy that'll start working up in the division. I think Cody Durden, Steve Erceg, you put this on as like the feature fight of a fight night. You can put this on the main card opener of a pay-per-view. Again, it wouldn't be the strongest one, but Steve Erceg can sell, so you can put Steve Erceg on a pay-per-view, get him a win. Cody Durden, Steve Erceg, I say we're looking at like the UFC 312 pay-per-view, main card opener only. I don't want this any higher up on the card. Feature prelim maybe if you want to start stacking some of these cards. You can also look at a fight night as the feature fight of a fight night, or the co-main of a fight night. I'm okay with this. Erceg, Durden would probably be a fun fight. Next up, Kyle Nelson. Lost to Steve Garcia. He should be looking like a Doo-Ho Choi matchup. Similar areas in the rankings. I think any fight with Doo-Ho Choi is like destined to be fun. So let's do a Doo-Ho Choi versus Kyle Nelson on the fight night card sometime in February again. So let's do this. It can be on the main card of a fight night. Given the strength of fight nights recently, it would probably just make its way to a main card. So Kyle Nelson, Doo-Ho Choi, main card, fight night, opener. Make it happen sometime in February. We move on. Steve Garcia versus Chepe Mariscal. I think we're at the prelims of a pay-per-view here. I think you could put Steve Garcia, who is again going to take some time off, against Chepe Mariscal. You can put this on the UFC 311 prelims, the card in January. Steve Garcia, Chepe Mariscal, two guys just outside the featherweight rankings. I think with a win, either of them getting a win here, they can start looking up at those rankings. These are two dudes that are legit prospects that are coming off multiple wins in a row and just like to absolutely go to war. Yes, Chepe uses his grappling a lot more, but he's down to get into a war. It's not like he gets into a boring fight ever. Steve Garcia, always in a fun fight, always looking to finish his opponent. So, Steve Garcia, Chepe Mariscal, I think that's a great matchup. And we move on. Jessica Andrade, who keeps going up from flyweight to strawweight to flyweight to strawweight. She just fought at flyweight and lost again. She keeps losing at flyweight. Let's put her at strawweight against a contender, Tabitha Ricci. Tabitha Ricci has literally won 2 fights in a row based off of robberies. I don't know if I'd call the Angela Hill fight a robbery. I definitely think Angela Hill won, but it was pretty close. Let's do Jessica Andrade versus Tabitha Ricci here. You can put this on the main card of a fight night because God knows you're just going to put it on the main card of a fight night. So, do this January, February, main card, fight night. Number 9 ranked Tabitha Ricci versus number 5 ranked Jessica Andrade at strawweight. You can make it happen and you can put it on the main card of a fight night. That's probably what you'll do. Let's get to some interesting matchups here. Natalia Silva, who could damn well be a future champion at flyweight, does need a couple more fights to get up there because there's such a logjam. And stay tuned, we're doing a video this week of how to matchmake all of women's flyweight, how to matchmake the welterweight division. So we're going to get into that tomorrow. But Natalia Silva versus Macy Barber. Macy Barber doesn't have a fight yet. Rose Namajunas and Eric Blanchfield are fighting. Manon Fiorot is going to fight the winner of Grasso versus Shevchenko 3. I think you have Natalia Silva set up to fight Macy Barber for sometime at the start of next year. You can do the fight night main card in January, February again. You could even do December. I think Natalia Silva is willing to turn around and take this fight as quick as she wants because I don't think she took too much damage versus Andrade. Again, she took some punches, but she rolled with them well. You're looking at a December, January, February fight night. Put it on the main card. I'm okay with watching Natalia Silva on the main card. I'm also okay with watching Macy Barber on the main card. These are two women that actually bring it every time they step in the octagon, and they get into fun fights. So, Natalia Silva, Macy Barber, who will be 6th ranked versus the number 4 ranked flyweight contenders. Make it happen. Gilbert Burns. To me, there is only one matchup for Gilbert Burns, and he's called this name out quite a bit. Now, I don't love giving him a shot up in competition in terms of a ranking number because he's lost to Jack Della. He lost to Sean Brady, both ranked beneath him. But someone else who doesn't deserve a shot at the top-ranked competition but is holding on to a ranking spot is Colby Covington. Make this happen. Co-main of UFC 311, feature fight of UFC 311, Colby Covington versus Gilbert Burns. This helps add to any pay-per-view value. You got a wrestler in Colby Covington versus a jiu-jitsu and wrestling specialist in Gilbert Burns. This would probably nullify on the ground. They'd stand up on the feet. Volume striking from Colby Covington, power from Gilbert Burns. This is a sick fight. It will sell pay-per-views. You put it on a pay-per-view. You put it on the UFC 311, UFC 312 pay-per-view. Or if they go to Brazil, you do this in Brazil. Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns, make it happen. It doesn't even have to be 5 rounds at this point. We don't really care. You can put this as the feature fight on a UFC 312 in February, the pay-per-view in February. You can have other guys on top feature. You can put it on the same card as having like a Bilal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. This is how you fix a logjam at welterweight. 2 stars fighting each other, neither of which are going to get a title shot no matter what happens in terms of a win, but at least it gets some of these names moving. Now, we're going to go to Sean Brady. Fight night main event against Ian Gary. I think it's a great matchup. You could also have this on the pay-per-view of, again, a UFC 312, UFC 311 in February, January. Put it as a feature fight. Put it as a co-main. But this will sell pay-per-views. They got the same agent. Sean Brady called out Ian Gary. Undefeated versus 1 loss, and the only loss is to the champion. Sean Brady looks dominant, like one of the best welterweights out there. Ian Gary is, again, I hate to say it, as much as I hate the cuck, he is one of the best welterweights on the roster. He's a top 7 welterweight on the roster. Sean Brady's a top 7 welterweight on the roster. Have them match up against each other because you got these other dudes like Jack Della and Shavkat who should probably be fighting. Usman and, Leon are also going to be mixed in with fights. So maybe you match those four up together. You do Sean Brady and Ian Gary, and the winner of that gets the winner of one of those matchups. Sean Brady, Ian Gary, UFC 312, pay-per-view, UFC 311 feature fight, UFC 312 co-main, or the fourth fight down on the card if you do Burns versus Covington. I think it's a great way to make it happen. If you enjoy these matchups, please like and subscribe. If you have better thoughts for matchups, please let me know what you think.